Harvey Kirck, Lloyd Robertson, with the CTV National News.
Good evening. The 10-day-old standoff between Libya and Britain ended peacefully today with the departure from London of Libya's diplomats and the return home of the British ambassador to Tripoli. Harvey?
Among the departing Libyans, presumably, was the man who murdered London policewoman Yvonne Fletcher. She was buried today after a funeral fit for a national hero. We have a report on the day's events from Henry Champ. The returning Libyan diplomats were given a hero's welcome in Tripoli. But analysts say the Libyans are genuinely disturbed at the break in relations. And despite the angry rhetoric in the state-controlled media, they're expected to begin soon to seek a normalizing of contacts.
Angry truckers blocked a main highway in western Quebec today. They were protesting a provincial government decision to shift a proposed forest products bill from Maniwaki to the neighboring town of Mount Laurier. Earlier this week, protesters in Maniwaki closed provincial offices and schools. With more on today's action, here's Roger Smith. A freakish storm with the odd combination of snow and tornadoes has cut a devastating track across the U.S. Midwest. The storm killed 16 people and injured scores more. The small town of Morris, Oklahoma was the hardest hit. A tornado wrecked two-thirds of the town and killed 11 people. In Oklahoma and Kansas, 40 tornadoes were spotted. To the north, 5 feet of snow blanketed the Dakotas, Montana, and Wyoming. Hundreds of miles of highways were impassable. Whole communities were shut down, and rescuers couldn't even get out to search for the missing people. An unrelated storm brought winter back to Manitoba. Southern Manitoba had enjoyed an unusually warm spring. Today, all of that changed. The power was out in many areas of the Interlake region because of an ice storm. The icy conditions are expected to last through tomorrow. In other areas of the province, snow and blowing snow made driving difficult.
While everyone's conceding that John Turner and Jean Chrétien are the front runners in the Liberal leadership, a close race is developing for the number 3 spot. It's between 3 cabinet ministers, John Roberts, Mark McGuigan, and Donald Johnson. Johnson was in Vancouver today, where the Liberals were friendly, but the ordinary voters were cool. Del Archer. John Turner was also in the Vancouver area today, speaking to 35 people already selected as delegates. His speech to them came across as a veiled criticism of the Trudeau approach to leadership. Turner said that as Prime Minister, he would appear before every provincial Liberal party once a year. He would answer their questions and make himself truly accountable. Prime Minister Trudeau has been criticized for being too far removed from the grassroots.
As the process of selecting convention delegates nears its conclusion, there are persistent complaints about so-called dirty tricks, instant Liberals being signed up by the hundreds to pack nominating conventions. Robert Hurst spent some time investigating those allegations in Southern Ontario ridings, where the name that keeps popping up is Jim Coutts, once principal advisor to Prime Minister Trudeau, and still a force to be reckoned with in the party. Here is Robert Hurst's report.
Frank Silva?
Yes.
From Toronto?
Yes.
This is Frank Silva. He says he's organizing 10 Southern Ontario ridings to give Portuguese Canadians some political clout. But he denies he has a pool of money to buy party memberships. Denies he's offering travel and hotel expenses.
It's not true. That's not true. You find one case or two because they couldn't afford it.
Silva says he has paid only 4 memberships from the hundreds of new Liberals he has recruited. Frank Silva is a longtime supporter of Jim Coutts, the Prime Minister's former principal secretary. Silva says his campaign for delegates has nothing to do with Coutts, but here's what he does say.
I help him out, yes, much as I can. I'll do much as I can for him to be elected.
Peter Lang, a Liberal MP from Kitchener, says that Jim Coutts is trying to go to the convention with a block of 50 to 100 delegates, and that could make Coutts a kingmaker. Lang himself faced a stacked delegate meeting and says Coutts was behind it.
Mr. Coutts should stay in Toronto. I've given him that message.
Jim Coutts is out of the country on vacation, and his office says he can't be reached. But his office staff here denies vehemently that Jim Coutts has had anything to do with the financing of instant Liberals. Officials at Liberal headquarters say they're unaware of any problems. They didn't even know about this instant Liberal, who was signed up, went to a meeting, and to her great surprise was elected a delegate to choose the next Prime Minister. And at the time, she couldn't name any of the leadership candidates. Have you ever heard of a man called John Roberts?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever heard of a man called
Eugene Whalen.
Why these questions?
Robert Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
The trial of Klaus von Bülow in 1982 was a sensational one. He was convicted of twice attempting to murder his wife by injecting her with insulin. She was a millionairess. He was a playboy with an actress as a mistress. The tabloids loved it. Today, the Rhode Island Supreme Court threw out that conviction. Richard Wagner reports.
2 years ago, a Rhode Island jury tried Klaus von Bülow on charges.
The jury finds the defendant, Klaus von Bülow, guilty.
He was sentenced to 30 years in prison, but remained free on $1 million bail during an appeal. Today, the Rhode Island Supreme Court overturned von Bülow's conviction on a technicality.
I'm very grateful that the court's finding has enabled me to establish my innocence.
The court found that evidence obtained from Klaus von Bülow's black medical bag should not have been allowed in his trial. The evidence was obtained illegally, the court said, without a search warrant. The Supreme Court did not acquit von Bülow. Today's ruling simply throws out the first verdict, one which the court said was justified.
The court talks in its opinion that the evidence shows that he took matters into his own hands, one of which held a syringe containing insulin and injected quantities that put her in the coma.
Mrs. von Bülow has remained in that coma for more than 3 years. Doctors say it's highly unlikely she'll ever recover. Richard Wagner, CBS News.
The traces of high-grade cocaine and a painkiller were found in the body of David Kennedy. He was found dead in his Palm Beach hotel 2 days ago. A private mass and burial were held for the 28-year-old Kennedy today. He was the son of Ethel Kennedy and the assassinated Senator Robert Kennedy. Services were held at the family estate near Washington. Burial was in Brookline, Massachusetts, where David's grandfather Joseph is buried.
Israel's defense ministry set up a commission of inquiry today into how 2 Palestinian terrorists died earlier this month. The 2 were among 4 terrorists who were killed after Israeli soldiers stormed a bus they had hijacked. A controversy has been brewing inside Israel over reports that 2 of the Palestinians might have been executed after their capture. Blurred press photographs taken after the release of the bus hostages appear to show a man being led away by Israeli soldiers. U.S. President Ronald Reagan and Chinese leaders continued to seek areas of agreement today, but instead they found they had differences over Taiwan, Central America, and the Middle East. And Reagan, on the second day of his visit, found himself the target of state censorship. Reagan had requested the opportunity to speak directly to the Chinese people on nationwide television from the Great Hall of the People. But instead of being broadcast live, Reagan's speech was delayed for 2 hours and heavily censored in the process. One of the portions cut out was Reagan's advice to China's leaders to trust the people. Other parts excised included references to religion, freedom, and criticism of the Soviet Union. Reagan is the first U.S. president to visit China since 1975. Tonight marks the end of an era in Canadian television news. Harvey is leaving our anchor desk, but we're all pleased he will be staying with CTV. And on this occasion, he has the last word.
The last word. I've been thinking about that for quite some time. And always a few words come to mind. I'm proud to have been able to work for such a long time with some of the best people in the television industry, from the crews here in the studio, to the control room people upstairs, to the people in the news department, and all of my CTV family, and especially my friend Lloyd here. Satisfaction. There's a great deal of satisfaction in being able to go places and see things in this world, all the while doing work that you consider important and worthwhile. I'm privileged. Most of all, I've enjoyed a unique privilege, that of coming into your homes for more than 20 years, being welcomed and trusted and believed. After all, it is you out there who exert the greatest influence on the career of someone in my position. I could say now that you made me what I am today, but I wouldn't do that to you. I'll be back in a few months with something of a special feature for Canada AM, so with a heartfelt thank you, I think we should carry on as usual. I'm Harvey Kirck.
And I'm Lloyd Robertson. And Harvey, I know that I can speak for all your friends inside and outside the business and say that it's just not going to be the same without you around here, old tiger.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Good luck on Canada AM. Good night, and see you Monday.
Good night.
This is the CTV Television Network. Matt Houston, Tuesdays at 9 on CKCO TV.
Ron Johnston, Lynn Ilya, Dave McDonald, Wayne Kleiman, and the CKCO TV News team. This is the Ontario Report.
Good evening in Ontario. Tonight, Waterloo Regional Police continue their search for the parents of an abandoned newborn baby.
Transplant patients stress the need for more donor organs.
And it looks as